there was this, I felt this need at some point to just kind of let go and to just be and see what unfolded through me. And so that birthed this channel and birthed a lot of this work. There's so many things that I go back and I listen to in my own videos that I'm like, I don't even really know where that really came from. And so it just kind of made me realize that there's this oneness between this form and this higher power. And so, you know, I'm just really excited to share that. So I've definitely had my moments where a lot of you, I'm sure, have had, where you've come up against some sort of perceived limitation from this limited form. And you're just like, I don't know what to do, because I've had it pretty much all happen to me. I've had so much amazing success, and then I ended up losing it all. But in a few short months after really diving back into the point that there was no separation, it just all kind of came back and exceeded way beyond what, you know, actually I had before. And so I understand you guys when you share with me, especially things that here inform what we go through as far as like living and trying to figure all that out, you know, finances, relationships, those sort of things. And it really is, none of it is really separate from you. And so I'm excited for us to dive into you guys' questions today and definitely get to know all of you a little more better. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for that, Autumn. And so for everyone watching right now, if you have questions, I'm going to start off with a question real quick, but if you have questions, just hands up. And then from there, if there's something said that you want to touch on, as far as the conversation happening, just go ahead and go in the chat and let me know so we can make sure we get to everybody. But so Autumn, my first question would be, and this is a question I get a lot, and I think you and I, you know, all the different coaches and guys, we all have a little different bit of a perspective, but I wanted to know, how do I know I am? How do I know? I think that's the biggest question I get. It's like, okay, I understand I'm source, but how do I know? So how would you kind of approach that?
I feel like you're not really going to know that thinking from this limited perspective, because you can't quite really grasp it from this limited perspective. There has to be a certain level of surrender of this name that you have, these circumstances that you have. There has to be, to me, it has to be a complete surrender of that in order to really know, because your higher self, you know, is not going to think of things the way that you think of things. The way your true nature is doesn't think in limitation. And so to try to figure it out, you'll never be able to figure infinity out. You just have to allow yourself to have these experiences and have multiple experiences. You're not going to just be limited to one experience here in this 3D world. You're going to have multiple different lives. So of course, you're going to have certain things that unfold, and that has its own script. And so when you come up against those limitations, you are going to nail yourself to something greater and higher. So that way, now you move into another reality where you're going to have more experiences. So that's how you know yourself, by shifting to so many other realities and experiences. You're not going to just physically or know it intellectually, I guess I could say. It's got to be a felt experience. It's got to be a lived experience. So yeah, it's something that's, you're not going to just figure it out from the limited mind. So to try is just to constantly assume that something is missing when there's nothing missing. So, but yeah.
It's like that understanding and accepting that you can't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. From there.
It is. Yeah, it is. And, you know, I think for me, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned just within that, and especially within that question, I think there's a belief that we can lack something. And so everything that kind of comes into your reality where you feel that you are limited, it's just because you believe that there's some sort of lack there. And so I want you guys to understand that you're not trying to necessarily change anything. You are choosing. And I think that we look at what is currently unfavorable, perceived unfavorable to us, to this limited mind that has all these judgments. We look at it and we say that this shouldn't be happening, this is going wrong, and all of that. But I want you guys to understand, if we're being spiritually mature here, and I say this to a lot of my clients, then if you call yourself God, or if you know yourself as God, we can't just be thinking that God is only going to produce the most favorable circumstances all the time. You have to understand that if it was created a negative circumstance, I am still lived that experience out through you. So it's this constant rejection of this unfavorable circumstance, knowing that I am is still experiencing that, is this rejection of the whole of I am. And so that's why you feel stuck. That's why you can never really move, because you're not allowing yourself or the I am awareness to really be moved through you. And so it's just, you're not supposed to like really change it. You're just going to choose what you prefer. You know, when you decide to have that relationship or a certain amount of money, we know here in the physical that the opposite is immediately created. There's potential for that. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to dive into that, but the potential is there. And so that's what this whole thing, yes, there's oneness here, but here in this limited form, we accept a sort of duality here so we can define ourselves as something. So in a limited form, so I am can know itself through this limited form. So, you know, it's the taking responsibility of creating these unfavorable circumstances. No, you don't have to create them, but if they are created, it's still perfect in a way, because the version of you that exists in that reality works for that version or perspective or lens of that you, which is still a part of the infinite. So once you just accept that and don't grasp, don't cling, don't clench at what's happening, it really moves through you, because I am is always trying to move you back to center. That's what I've learned in my experience of massive loss, is I am is always trying to move you back to this sort of oneness where lack never existed. But it's this holding on and looping and grasping and all that kind of just makes you stay there. And so if you just accept it all as the source, then it moves, because lack can't technically exist in the mind of the all. So yeah.
Thank you. I love that answer. And so, guys, real quick before I turn it over to questions, I will not be using this recording on YouTube. It will be posted within the school group, but I am giving this recording to Autumn to use how she would like. So if you would not want to be on YouTube, either turn the camera off to ask a question, or, you know, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But I just want to make that very clear for everyone. She may use it, she may not use it. So
I'll probably use it. I'll probably use some of it, you know, so.
You'll probably use it. And you guys, the reason I love getting these group conversations together within the school community and getting these recordings out there is so more of us can find each other, right? People want to hear these conversations, and I really feel like this is the absolute most powerful thing people can see, right, is this community and see how we work together. So with that being said, let me send it over to, is it Nia or Nea?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Nia. So thank you for having me. And it's actually my first call. So we are starting off strong. And I don't know if this is a question, but also more of a sharing, but maybe a question is inside. So I know infinite parallel realities or movies and versions of our character and bodies exist, right? So, and I am not new to this work, and I've had quite some experience, and also included where I completely dissolved the sense of I, and where there was just nothing. And this nothing was everything at the same time, like the paradox. And then the integration can be a bit challenging. However, I just know I'm completely done with this whole manifestation trap, and I'm more into, the most important thing is always coming back to yourself as source, as your true self. And this is the most important thing, and everything else is just extra, it's just bonus. And sometimes the circumstances that we, of course, created for ourselves are inviting us to be like, okay, now I'm just completely done with this, and it really forces you to surrender, to be like, okay, I just let everything be as it is. I'm not touching it. I'm not doing anything with it. I just allow, and I'm just observing it. And especially when everything else just feels forced. And for me, where I'm currently at, like the 3D is completely opposite from where I truly live, what I envisioned for myself. And instead of trying to figure out anything, for me, it's now really about surrendering all questions and all identification with this, and really being surprised and allowing the unknown to take care of everything. And yeah, including, for example, yeah, my business and all of this stuff is not in this country where I am right now. I know it's registered in the other country, and it's not my job to figure out anything like the logistics and all of this stuff. And yeah, and also not getting caught up in for example, what the government would say, like the requirements and so on and so forth. And I said to myself, I'm the only requirement that is needed, and yeah, staying firm in that. So if you have any insights or whatsoever, it would be great. I'm just excited to be here and to see this unfold.
Yeah. I know we talk about not using techniques and things like that, and I'm someone that doesn't use any, but I do want to make it very clear. I do talk about this on my channel, about using your inner senses, because you do it anyway. It's not a technique. It's something that you do all the time. You imagine, you have that inner talk. You really go within yourself. The inner world is creative. And so although being does translate, gets everything done, it's really all about where you dwell. It's not about what's happening in the outside circumstances. But if you are being, and then you're still looking at circumstances, thinking that that's what's real, and then you're making commentary and visualizations and all that within yourself, because we all do it. We just don't know that we do it. So the thing here is, you have to be, to me, and this is just my perspective, it is, to me, important to be aware with what you are doing within yourself. It's not about the what you are trying to manifest, but the who, like who you are being within. And so it's not about looking at what is, it's about what you are doing within. So again, if you are looking within yourself and imagining things to be the way you want them to be, just because that's who you are, it's not to get something, but because that's who you are, or having that inner talk the way that you prefer. Remember, you're not changing what is currently appearing, you're just choosing. What's happening outside is perfect, regardless of what we want to think. I am does not care. It doesn't really give a damn about what's the appearance is. It just is. Doesn't care how it gets here. Doesn't care about what you think of how it translates and what needs to be shifted and moved. It just doesn't care. And so we have to understand that I am sees all of it as perfect and needed. So if you could see that this moment too is perfect, this what's appearing now is perfect, and then choose where you want to dwell and who you want to dwell as, that's the most important thing. And I do think, to assist you with staying rooted inward and believing that who you are internally is what's created, because when you see what you want to see within, that's happening now. It's not that it's going to happen. It's happening now. Your internal reality is happening now. What you're saying, if you're just regurgitating what's going on outside, that's happening now, and it's going to carry on until the next day and the next day. So if you could be intentional, because you can be intentional about who you're choosing to be within, I just felt that that's the most important thing. For me, I keep my inner eyes locked on awareness always, as much as I can. So I know I got this question the other day on my channel about, do I ever have moments? I do all the time, but I just have them, and then it's not where I live. I don't live in those thoughts. I don't live in that thought form. I don't make it, because what we do is we make ourselves small inside these thought forms, then feel we have to manifest our way out of these thought forms. It's just a thought that you're upset about. It's not that it's really not reality that you're upset about. It's just the idea or a thought that you're upset about. And so if you just go within and be intentional about where you're dwelling and make that the most important thing. And if you do imagine to experience, imagine your business being the way you want it to be, to experience it, because you're communing with your I am awareness, which is outside of time and space. That's happening now. So if you're more convicted about that being the truth, then of course, whatever happens out here has to rearrange, has to show the reflection of what you see within yourself. It's just a copy anyway. So if you're still seeing the same thing every day, I feel it is beneficial to be intentional about what you're doing inside yourself, because you're doing it all the time anyway. You just don't notice it. So that's my perspective on that.
And I'd like to touch on this as well. And this is just my perspective as well, Autumn. You know, if you say you're seeing the same thing every day, if you're saying you're seeing the opposite, guess what? You are. How could you possibly see something else if you're just saying that's what you're seeing? I think, and I want to make something very clear. So many of us think this reflection of our awareness is a delay. It's not a delay. It is reflected immediately. So if you label something as such, it is, right? You have to assume from the new identity and give a different perspective if that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
And that's just my take on that.
Yeah. And also too, like, I think it's because you assume, but then you turn around and you watch what's appearing. You watch, you try to keep track. You're managing a story is what I tell my clients. It's this constant micromanaging of a story. That's what keeps you kind of in the loop. You got to go first. You got to just be like, it's done, and then go on. I remember just one time that was kind of funny to me. This kind of awareness that flipped kind of inward for me was I was going back and forth about a certain situation time and time again where I perceived lack, and I was just so riddled with anxiety one day. And then I remember just sitting down and just kind of breathing, and then it popped into my awareness, this thought that said it never happened. It just popped into my awareness and said that it never happened. The lack you're perceiving never happened. And then immediately the thoughts just clicked off. And then I picked up a book I've been putting off reading, and I started reading it, and it was just like life went on, like that never ever happened. So the lack you think you're perceiving actually never really happens. But you know, you just have to be intentional about who you're perceiving yourself as, because we say we do all these things, but then you still believe that you're just Nia, just Brandon, just Autumn. You believe that that's what you're limited to, your name, and you're so beyond and before that. So you have to identify with your prior to the story you made up of yourself. So yeah.
I'm going to send it over to Sissy. Go for it.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm at work, so in case you see me pausing here and there. Hi, Autumn. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So I know we're not doing shadow work. I know that there's nothing wrong with us, but I do live as source. I feel that running through me, truly. But there are days where I feel like some integration needs to happen. I almost feel like I'm saying that I'm source, but I'm not embodying it. So in those moments, I just allow, I surrender, but I do feel like the human part somehow needs some integration. And if you can say anything on that, please.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way to really get to this one truth, because all of it is a part of the one truth. No matter if you feel that you need to do shadow work or not, you're going to run into this realization at some point. So if you feel that that's what you needed, of course, you don't need to do anything. But if you do things that you feel will assist you, there's nothing actually wrong in that as well. But it's where you're doing it from. It's a difference between wanting something to happen and knowing something already happened. And so you have to realize that within the source, it already happened. Whatever you desire for yourself, it already happened. Like, it's already happened. And so for you, where you feel like you are, it's just this identification that you're your name and your story and the traumas and all of that. It's the constant carrying that from day to day to day. and then stringing continuity together, making up moments from what happened today and stringing that and making this constant story around that, that solidifies that you believe that you are just your name and you're just limited from there. So you have to really know that you are before your name. Like for me, I rarely identify as, you know, Autumn. I know that Autumn is existing, but you have to realize that this body and this mind is within the mind of the all. It is also an idea. It's not who you are. It's just an idea within the mind of the all. And so I am still prior to that. So, but this body and mind is needed to have the experience. The body's going to do what it does. The mind is going to do what it does. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to continually disidentify with thinking that your personal story means anything at the end of the day. So it's this constant stringing together what you believe happened and all of those things. And if you can go back within yourself, you really cannot tangibly go there to where that trauma or that belief, that thing that you believe actually happened. Like you literally, you're only going there within. Whenever you feel those things, you're going there within. And so you're constantly recreating it. So it's just about choosing. Why not? If there's so many other realities that you lived in, who's to say that it only went that way? We're constantly just choosing. And if you're not choosing what you would prefer to happen, I do this with my clients all the time because they say, well, I lived that. How do you know? How do you really know? You don't know. You really don't know. For where you are right now, you really don't know. You can't really truly say if you lived that. You know, time is a belief. All these things are a belief. So if you just choose, maybe it didn't happen that way. And that's the thing, you guys, we take this so seriously. I am just wants to experience through you. So if you play, I play all the time about things. If you play, so much of this stuff would feel, and it just wouldn't be stuck to you because you'll be playing. So don't think it's so serious, and you only take it seriously because you believe that you're this person and have this story and have to do all these things. But no, you're source. It could be whatever you want it to be today. It could be whatever you want it to be tomorrow. Like, have fun. You have to be like a child. A child does not care about anything. So if you're, make it light, keep it light. That's what I always tell people, keep it light. So it doesn't have to be what you think it was 10 years ago or whatever. It's just now anyway. Just choose and see what happens. Choose and see what happens. So yeah.
Let's go to Moses. Can't hear you, man. No. Just I'm gonna send it to Blanche. Just we'll come back to you, Moses. Blanche, go for it.
I just have a quick question and if you can elaborate, either you or Brandon, about the delay about the fact that, first of all, I want to say, Autumn, I always listen to your videos. I love your videos, and I'm so glad that you're on this call, by the way. So I wanted to talk about the delay and just trying to get more of a clarity, I guess, on that what we see is not a delay, that it is now. And I get that we are in the present moment and that what we see is happening now. But then I guess I'm kind of turned around when I'm like, isn't what you see, especially if it's something that you're not wanting, isn't that an old perspective that hasn't, I guess it's like I'm intertwining, I think, these concepts, like what we see that we're not wanting is that's like an old projection of something that was an old concept. So I'm just trying to get some clarity on that, if I hope it makes sense.
Yeah. There is no delay. Remember, like, kind of like what I said, your inner world, like, it's happening right now. Like, it's you think that what's appearing in the 3D, you believe that that's real. It's just a snapshot of what you keep constantly choosing within to focus on, what you're doing inside yourself with these thoughts about what's appearing. If you have constant thoughts about what's appearing within yourself, or even outward, then you're just still constantly choosing to loop the same thing over and over. Like, what's going on within you is the truth. So it has to be, your focus is on having to do with inner, but also too, present to me means present. So it's prior to whatever is appearing. Your I am is prior to what's appearing. So if you're identified prior to circumstances, prior to your name, before all of anything that ever appeared, then I just feel you wouldn't take it seriously. It has to be a decision to, it has to be a decision to drop it. It can't be, because we just make ourselves so small. Like, it can't be what's just out here, but your inner world, like, that is the truth. If your focus is on what you're doing within yourself, you can't get it wrong, because that's happening now. It's happening now. Or what you decide now is happening now. It's just, are you convicted about your limitations that this is actually happening, or are you convicted about being the source? If you're convicted about being the source, then you know that you can't get any of this wrong.
Thank you. Yes. Okay.
And I'd like to touch on that one as well, Blanche. And I use this analogy a lot. And so I'm going to talk about more from the technical side. Okay. The reflection is immediate, guys. I know what you're looking at looks solid, but it is changing. I mean, trillions of times a second, it's changing, right? It's just changing, vibrating. That's what's happening. So if you declare abundance, and then you're like, well, I don't see abundance. Abundance cannot unfold, right? There's a reality in which that money just shows up on your doorstep. But if you're saying, no, I don't see it, then you're just taking that off the board. That is no longer a possibility for you, right? So the reflection is immediate. It's just, what are you assuming about what you're seeing? What are you perceiving about what you're seeing?
Yeah.
And that really is it.
I like that, Brandon. And just one more thing too, if we could just take it back one more step beyond that too. It's not that you're claiming abundance, but who are you claiming abundance as? The thing is, if it's I am the abundance, it'll no longer be that I'm seeing abundance. I am is the abundance. You have to understand, and this is what I talk about on my channel, I am is the power source. It's the battery that puts the power into any reality. I am is the only thing walking into every reality. You're not walking into every reality. It's I am that's entering every reality, whether the one that's in abundance, the one that's in lack, and whatever, like, you see, I am is the only one entering it. And it's just this version of you that's going to be unfolded in that reality. So the thing is, you think you're looking at it from just you, from this limited perspective, but you have to see that it's not that you're just saying, okay, well, I see abundance. You have to claim that I am the abundance. It's from I am that this abundance is coming out of. So don't focus on what you're trying to get, focus on who you're trying to be, who you are being. And so I tell my clients this all the time, just say that I'm only seeing abundance. I only see abundance. I only see love. I only see whatever, because you're seeing it as the source. This is all I see. And so then you'll start to you'll become aware of seeing that. You'll become aware of where it already is in your reality. So you have to see it where it is now, because it's already there now. The things that you want, the abundance, is here now. So if you start to see it where it is now, it just only compounds, and that'll be all you'll be able to see. So yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Moses, go for it. Still nothing, man.
Still can't hear you.
Well, Autumn, Moses will get that figured out. Can you talk about kind of loosening your grip on form?
Yes. And I know it's hard to do, you guys. Listen, I'm there with you guys too. But loosening your grip really is, all it comes down to is loosening your grip is not needing to understand how it gets here, how it unfolds, the ways in which you believe it'll happen. Because the only thing that blocks us from actually relaxing our grip on reality is the fact that we think we know the best way, but it's only coming from this limited perspective of what you believe happened in the past and all of these things, you have to understand that you are also not the mind. The mind is the communicator between your I am awareness, which is outside of space and time, and in this form. So the mind is a tool, but if you identify as your mind and this body too, then you're going to just think, okay, I'm limited to this. So what I'm thinking from is going to be just limited to what this experience, I believe this experience is. And so it's just because you believe that, okay, I can't let it go because of the experience that this mind has told me is happening and this body is telling me that's happened in the past. But you don't have to know how it's going to happen. Remember, like I said, I am can bring it to you in so many ways, and it always comes in a way that you never know anyway. So the point is to live your life knowing that it already happened. It's already happened anyway. So you live your life from the knowing that it already happened, and your only job is to express I am. So what does that mean? You just express, you live, you be, you live in expectancy that you can't get it, like you literally cannot get any of this wrong because it's not you doing it anyway. It was never you doing it anyway. You know, we like to take credit for things happening, but there was never Autumn doing anything. It was I am emerging in experience through someone named Autumn. So always where you're identifying is going to be key, you guys. So you don't have to know exactly the how. Just get over the fact that, because you're just not going to know. You're just not going to know. And it's okay. And it should be fun that way. So, yeah.
It should be fun. And I think that's the most fun, because when you know, you also know you don't know how it's going to show up. And it's like a Christmas present. Like you don't know. You know it's going to be there. You know something's going to be under that tree.
Mm-hmm.
What it is. You don't know how it's going to be there. So, yeah, make it exciting. And I love what you said, live, expect, see. That's great to live by. Let's try Moses one more time, because I know he's trying to get on here.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it works. All right. I was giving up there. I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm not going to be on here. No matter. Dang. Now my question. So what I was really going to ask is, first off, thank you for coming on. Thank you for Brandon. From his group, I started my own group, Rooted Reality. And now I live as everything's done. I own it. I be it. I flow it is kind of how I teach. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was, once you're already here, once you know you are source of everything, more on keeping it fun. Like, what do you focus on next? And what do you keep fun, or meaning more of what's meaningful for you at this point? Like, what's fun? How do you keep life fun? Because I like keeping everything fun and engaging.
Okay, well, I mean, you just live, to be honest. Like you live, because of course we're here to express and experience, but you live. But the thing is, I never try to make certain, limitations on how I should have fun or how I should experience my life. I guess I'll use a circumstance that's happened to me. So I remember there was a previous business that I had, and I wanted to hit this specific goal, this specific money goal. And I was trying to manifest that so much to the point where it just wasn't working. And I said, you know what, let me just actually go live my life and see what happens. And so it's kind of like I took my awareness off of the business, and then all of a sudden I just started hanging out with friends. I just started with hanging out with friends. Then all of a sudden, the next thing came, going out on dates. I was still working the business, but going out on dates, and then travel came up, and then all these things came up, still working the business. And then before I knew it, 7 months later, I had surpassed the 6 figures I was trying to hit. And it was just because I was just expressing and experiencing I am within the moment. Like, it just starts with one thing without limitation. Like, you don't have to know exactly how it's going to unfold. You just live. You let I am express through you. The more open you are, because a lot of us, we're just so clenched up with our energy, and we're like, I'm just going to sit here and wait until something happens, or sit here and just do this one thing. But I am just wants to have experiences through you. Like it just does. And so it just wants to live. And so you just have to live. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that, but whatever comes up, it's a nudge. It just says, okay, go walk to get a coffee, and then you never know who you're going to run into. Like, it's just live in expectancy, just like what me and Brandon talked about. You live in expectancy. So yeah, just, you don't know how, but it came from me not being, all my energy not being on that anymore. It came on being, it was on who I was being, what I was expressing. And so, you know, I thought that one thing was going to be the key to my expression, but it wasn't that. It was the state of being, ease, joy, carefree, what I am is, and then it just happened. So that's really how all this works. It's so easy, so effortless. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Moses. Tanya.
Hi.
Hi.
You said earlier that we are not the mind, and I agree. But when you when you tell yourself something, for example, you said for example, that you just need to know. But if you just need to know, you have to remember yourself that you are source, and that you know something, that you know that you are this new identity, or you have already what you wanted to have. But at the end, isn't it in your mind that you're saying this?
Are you asking, are you seeing it in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling, if you have a doubt, if you have this circumstances, and you just you have to do this in your mind, you have to tell yourself, no, it's okay, I already have this, and I know I will have that, or I don't know, but you have to be in the knowing. So you have to remember you are source. You know it, you know that you are source, but sometimes you have to remember your new identity. But this is happening in your mind too. But you said also that you are not your mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the thing. If you are identified like with your mind, then what happens is you'll take on one thought that comes in, and then you accept that thought. Whatever comes in that says, no, you're not that. We think that whatever comes in our awareness, we have to accept that and take on and say that this is now my thought because it came in my mind. All thoughts exist within awareness. There's no thought that you could ever think that has not been thought before or hasn't already existed. So it's being intentional about what you're doing within yourself. So yes, that thought might come, but you're not the thought. You are the awareness which these thoughts come through. So, but it's the claiming of the thought, claiming of that one thought that says, this is not it, or I don't have it. You claim it and you hold on to it. And now you make it your identity. And then you make yourself small in that because they said, oh, that thought said, no, I'm not that. And now I'm relating it to circumstances out here, and no, I'm not that. I don't see it. And so now everything you think, or that every other thought that comes in, because it's just confirming this thought, it will start to add to that and add to that. And it just layers over your awareness. And that's what an illusion is. And then you think now you have to do something to get out of that. Like, no, when you go within yourself and you imagine, and this is why I've seen so many clients like really go within themselves and see what they want to see. Now, remember, all these other versions of yourself exist outside of space and time. And how do you catch the mood of those? You go within, and it just could start with something simple, hearing what you want to hear, seeing what you want to see, smelling, touching, whatever. It starts with just that one thing. And so, yes, you've experienced it within. I've experienced it within. I saw it. That's a reality. And so now that you saw that, what happens now is you're going to start all of a sudden getting random other thoughts from that reality, or other images of you in that relationship with that person. And then all of a sudden, the life you have with that person, you're going to just start getting those on your own, because it's your I am awareness, which is outside of space and time, communicating with you, dropping those in. Those are the crumbs that are being led to the unfolding. And so you have to accept that within, and then reality on the outside shifts around that because you're more interested in the new story than the old story. If your interest is still on the old story, you're just going to keep manifesting more of those circumstances and thoughts. But if your interest is now in this new story within, the reality is just going to shift around that. So yeah, it's about what you're doing within. I strongly believe if you were more intentional about that and accepting it as true, that you saw it within, you saw it. If you saw it, if you heard the person say or whatever it is going on within, and you accept that, I heard that. Doesn't matter what happened out here. I heard that. I heard that. And so now you're going to just keep getting more of those, and they just happen. It's not something that you have to go like seeking and making up. Like, it happens. Trust that your I am awareness is moving you, is showing you, is, you know, that's how this body and this mind connects with that I am awareness. Like, it's a tool. The body and the mind is a tool, and you have to know how to use it instead of letting it use you. And that's what we come up with, this ego mind, and it just takes you on a ride, because it's always the ego that is a perpetual victim. And it says, no, you're not this. No, you have to fix this. It's the constant thinking that it'll just keep you in your mind. It keeps you living in your mind and not in your body. So your imagination and your inner senses are creative. And again, your outer senses are reactive. So if you go within and you're seeing, and you're just even assuming, going within and assuming that I am source and feeling that, yes, I know that I'm that, then the outer world has no choice but to, you know, it'll just, your inner world just keeps getting richer and richer. You know, a richer inner world makes for a rich outer reality. That is the truth of this. So, you know, that's really what it is. The ego mind is going to just make you always feel like you need to fix something. That's, you know, and it's just a thought form. It's a thought form and another thought form and another thought form added on. And it gets you living up here instead of that heart and mind coherence in your body, moving as one. So.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tanya. Michelle, go for it.
Nice to see you. Hi, Brandon. Thanks for bringing her on.
Hi.
Hi. My question is basically on dreams. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know I watched one of your videos where you spoke about your dream and how real it felt. And for me, I find a lot of my dreams feel so real, but yet I haven't actually lived it outside of the dream, but it feels as though a message is being transmitted to me to the dreams. It just feel like, yeah, something is happening here, but can't quite put the finger on it. So what really is that going on there? You could give me some clarity there?
Yeah. In that dream that you're referencing, where I became lucid in the dream, it was just so much of an understanding of our inner world and how just reality itself is malleable. But the one thing that I really took away from that more than anything was it was not Autumn that was entering that reality. That reality already existed and it had its own timeline that was playing out. It was I am that entered into that reality, into that experience. So whenever you go to sleep, your I am awareness is not the form. This version of you exists within I am, the I am awareness. But when you enter another dream, that's a whole nother reality, a whole nother, whatever may be playing out, it's your awareness that's entering that dream. So it is an experience, and that's why it feels real. But sometimes when you come back, it's because your awareness is more attached to the belief that this is your current reality. So it's not that you're entering these realities, it's I am that's entering these realities. And I am is just this formless awareness. It takes on different, forms. And so yeah.
Thank you. Understand. Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle. Let me send it back over to Moses here.
Okay, here's a question. How do you coach or guide from this point without reinforcing the idea that they need help? Like when I'm coaching someone, or because the first thing is I know that we don't need any fixing. We're not, there's no problem. So I passed all that, but how do I coach them without reinforcing that I'm helping them in a way?
Well, I never look at anyone as how they probably may look at themselves. They may see a lot of lack and limitation, but I immediately raise them up in my mind to seeing them as whole and complete. So for me, if I start there, then it's kind of easier too. Now, I understand that, they may still have a lot of limitations and beliefs that they think that are going on. And so I can speak to those like as well. That's why, yes, there is this oneness, but also too within this physical form, like we do have this kind of dual nature that we do like exist by this perceived dual nature that we live by. So, I am very aware of that, but sometimes I just take them through the dual nature and, then on to the oneness. But it just really depends. I don't ever look at anybody as lack. When I talk to you guys, I see all of you as whole and complete. So when I answer your questions, I'm always raising you up into the source. I know I'm talking to myself here too. And so for me, like when I talk to anybody, I know I'm talking directly to myself. So I talk to them how I talk exactly to myself. And so, yeah, we're just doing this dance for each other. It's just play. It's play here anyway. I guess I have that within my awareness that this is all play here too. It's I am experiencing itself. And so, just for the plot. I never take it seriously. It's just for the plot. So, yeah.
Thanks, Moses. So, Autumn, I got another question. So, I'm sure a lot of people are going to leave this call highly motivated and excited, right? They just want to live that life right now. For you, if you had to like do it all over again, right? Like, what is that first step? Like, what's the first thing you're embracing to make things happen right now?
I would surrender the belief that I'm a separate self that needs to get something. I would immediately go ahead and eliminate the fact that the belief that I'm a human, like, and I need to get somewhere. Like, that's the first thing I would surrender the human immediately. But, that's what I would do immediately, because that's the one thing. It's the belief that we are our names and these stories. That's the one thing that keeps the veil over I am, in my opinion. So because I would surrender that. If I surrender that immediately, and I would never just think in terms of limitation. I would just take off. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I would agree with that. And I would add that, in letting go of the stories, you can recognize that you've always been a master storyteller. And now it's time to tell new ones. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Let me send it over to Victor.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm driving, so just let me know if the cuts. Nice to meet you. I just kind of wanted to. I've kind of just been observing something, and I would like to see what y'all think about it. As far as manifesting go, and it kind of comes with what something you just said was like the inner, like a richer inside makes for a richer outside, essentially. And I've found that though you can, or you, I might want to manifest something physically, uh, something I've kind of been doing for years now. And for a long time, it was under like the guise of like just a God that I broadly had a concept of, not from source, not from the way we kind of, I've learned to do it recently. But I find that sometimes if I go, I want to be this kind of person. I would like to be able to feel more confident or feel richer or anything like that. When it does arrive, it's not because I learned something. It's not because I, did anything. Sometimes I just wake up with that feeling. And it's kind of like when you wake up in a bad mood, you just it just happens. It's almost as if like the way we say about manifesting something physical, where you don't have to wonder where or how it's going to happen, it just does. And I found that observing how that happens emotionally kind of is exactly how it happens physically. It just happens. Sometimes I just wake up in the best mood in the world, and I don't have to find a way to be charming. I don't have to read a book on how to walk into a room and give a presentation, you know? And I just kind of want to know what y'all thought about that and kind of how you've kind of seen yourself change and what that actually looks like on day to day.
Yeah, you're thinking from being. That's because you were thinking and you were moving from being. You shifted into being instead of thinking from I'm trying to become. You know, you already are. You just shifted into the full awareness
Hmm.
that you already are that. And so, you know, it's not going to make sense to this logical mind. And, you know, to try to make it make sense is to continually assume that there's something that you need to get, and so you don't have to question it. You just keep moving within it, and so you don't have to try to figure out how you got there. You were always there. It was just the belief that there was some steps that you needed to take. And so one thing I always tell people on my channel is to think from I'm always receiving, or I'm always experiencing, or to think from having, because you have so much, like, you don't realize how just limitless you are. To think from having is to think different from I only have or I only am. And so just opening yourself up to thinking from I'm, you know, from having really just makes you not put a limitation on how it gets there. Like, you know, that I am can have so many experiences through you. So to think from having, I think, would just be a way that you could kind of keep yourself, you know, aware that I don't have to think, well, I only have this, or these are my limitations and I need to become something. If you just think from having, you'll just naturally move from having, and having translates from being. So yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Victor. You guys, we got about 2 minutes left. I would love to get one more question for Autumn. Do we have anyone out there? We got about 45 of you on the call right now. Yeah, Kara, go for it.
All right. I'm cooking, so sorry. Okay. What do you do? So I posted a video about I am that I am, okay? And I have some religious followers, okay? And someone commented today and said, "Oh, be careful with that phrase, I am that I am, because only God can say it." So, like, I know what I'm going to say back, okay? But how would you approach that?
I don't say anything. I don't ever feel the need to defend who I am. You know, I see every single thing as an invitation. Every supposed trigger that comes up is an invitation. And you don't need to defend yourself, because remember, they're going to keep watching regardless, and it's going to click with them one day. So you don't have to defend your stance on it. You just keep expressing. Your only job is to keep expressing who you are. Like, they're only you asking, are you sure that this is who you are? So nothing is actually happening to you. It's just an invitation asking you, do you believe this is who you are? Are you sure that this is what you actually believe? And if it is, like, there's no need to defend it. It just is, you know, no need.
I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kara. Hey, Amberly, I saw your hand up real quick. Did you want to get to your question?
Yeah. So again, with what Michelle was saying about the dream part. So if you're dreaming and you're being, and then it comes into your 3D, would that just be your awareness of the whole totality, or would that just be like your brain remembering the dream?
Remember, everything is actually happening right now. But
Mm-hmm.
what you're experiencing now in your reality currently, or even if it's in the dream and your I am awareness totally enters that section of time, it's just a fractioned off version of you that is needed for the whole of you. So yes, even now in your current reality, it's I am experiencing itself through this tiny just lens, this tiny perspective. But who you are in all the realities, whether favorable or unfavorable, is what makes up the whole. And so you're just shifting your awareness to other fractioned off or sectioned off times. They're just fractioned off perspectives or versions of I am. Because remember, you can take on any perspective, and that is a totally different reality. So it's just, that's what it is. It's I am that's entering the reality. It's not just like you. Remember, you are I am. So I am is entering, that reality. And remember, you are within the mind of the all. So there's a version of you that emerges out of that is complete for that reality.
Mhm.
So that's why sometimes things don't make sense, or you respond in certain ways in other realities or perspectives. It's because it's a new version of this character emerging in that reality. But it's only I am that entered the reality.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
You got time for one more question, Autumn?
Yeah.
Natalie, go for it.
Hi, Autumn. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
So I've watched your videos, and I think in one of the videos you mentioned that you smoke weed or that you smoked weed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah.
So, I smoke weed too, but I'm starting to see like side effects of what like smoking can do to the body, but for some reason, like I do want to quit, but eventually, but at the same time, like I do enjoy to smoke, but I'm feeling like I'm killing myself because I'm smoking, but I don't want to feel that way. Like I just smoked and I can like feel like I've got everything checked out and like my lungs are good and stuff like that. But as soon as I start smoking, I start feeling like my lungs are decaying or like my teeth are like rotting and shit. Sorry. So like
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel that, but I like what do you feel that when you smoke, or like what do you think about those things, or like I just like I want to know like what your mentality is.
Yeah. Look, I am is here to have a good time. Like, that's the thing, you guys. Like, there's no judgments on if you smoke or if you drink or whatever the case may be. Only a person that thinks that they're separate has these judgments, or only a person that lives in their mind and thinks that they're the mind has these judgments. It's all welcome to exist within I am. So for me, there's times in my life where I'm smoking constantly, and then there's times in my life where I just never pick it up. The thing is, I don't ever judge myself if I'm in one of those phases where I'm consistently smoking, but there's so many times like right now where I just haven't felt the need to pick it up. Now, I don't think anything bad about the version of me that is smoking all the time, because that's just what it is, because I'm sure there's going to come another time where I'm going to do it again. So for me, I don't ever judge myself. I don't judge the experience. It's just, you have to ask yourself, who's the one saying that? Who's the one that's deciding that? It's you that's the one deciding that there's something wrong with that. I don't know. You don't have to like place these judgments and these things on yourself to make you feel like you have to like do something about it. It's just that ego mind that makes you feel like you had to do something about it. Like, no, like you don't have to. Because for me, when I felt that, I just said, okay, well, if there's an intention to quit, I trust that it will just naturally happen on its own. And the only way that that happens is if you stop judging yourself, because this version of yourself is the one that is smoking, and she's fine. It was fine before that thought came in. So all you have to do is just accept it and say, okay, if there's an intention here, it's going to naturally happen on its own. You have to trust that if there's an intention to quit, it's just going to happen. So yeah, and if you do smoke, you don't judge yourself for it. And then one day you'll wake up and you just probably won't do it. So,
Okay. So, but I've also seen like the effects that it's had on my teeth. So
that's a belief, though. That's also a belief, that you believe something is happening. But also too, like, you just may be playing into lack, or that there's something wrong. There's just so much judgment on yourself, if just let it be what it is, and see, don't just let it, I'm telling you, let it be what it is, and it will fall away on its own. Don't place these judgments or I'm seeing this or that, because it's the thought. You bought into the belief that there's something, you know, happening, and now my teeth are suffering from it. And so now that's all you can see, and that's all you're going to call in. So it's just, you took on a different position. So yeah, just let it be. You're the only one deciding. And I promise, like, it's fine. It's just fine. You're just placing all these judgments on the character, that the character needs to be perfect. You don't.
Thanks
Okay.
for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll touch on this too, Natalie, because and I'm excited to find out Autumn smokes, because now we might have to do an episode where we'll smoke. I know Maria smokes. There's smokers in this group, right? Natalie, I was the same way. It's like, okay, I'm clearly doing harm to myself, but that was me in separation, right? Natalie, if you say I'm doing this to my teeth, guess what? You're God. So you're doing that to your teeth. If you say you're doing that to your lungs, guess what? You're God. You're doing that to your lungs. You can see yourself in any way, right? You can literally smoke all day long and be the healthiest person imaginable. There are no limitations. So what you're doing is you're placing conditions on your health. I need to not smoke in order to be healthy. And that's just God putting conditions on God's self, right? You got to have this lens of oneness with everything. It's something I went through the same thing, because, you know, you get a little paranoid when you smoke too. So then the head really starts, I had to take that step back and really, you know, who am I? Who do I say I am? So it's all allowed. It's all okay. And like Autumn said, you're here to have fun. So do what you want. Just don't place conditions on the fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Autumn, it looks like we do have one more hand up. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool. Tanya, go for it.
Yeah. I just wanted also to to ask you something. It was about also drugs, because I took LSD last time, and I felt like I was more connected to my to source than any time in my life, actually. And I was wondering if this is a belief, or yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
But
also just the falling away. It's just the falling away that there's for me, when I've, like, you know, got lit off shrooms, like, it's always just the falling away of, like, a filter or a separate
yeah.
self. It just, the you that you think you are just completely dissolves, and then you see, you know, the oneness. So it's just, like I said, it's this you that you believe you're Tanya, that's just the filter over your I am awareness. And when you lose the belief that there's someone here, that needs to get something, it just, that's all you can see is this oneness and this closeness. You're just seeing yourself in the purest at that moment. So yeah.
Okay, so it means that even if we have those beliefs every day, we think we have those beliefs, our awareness doesn't.
Right.
So
yeah
we just it's okay to say, to tell yourself that, okay, it's my beliefs, and maybe it makes me uncomfortable and everything, but my awareness knows that it's just beliefs from my ego, and my awareness doesn't have any beliefs. Right?
Yeah, it's just
it's
you have to just see that it's just a thought that you're believing. It's not that anything is actually happening. It's just a thought. It's just one thought that you're ruminating, holding in place and ruminating on. It's just a thought, you know?
okay, but I can just not give any power to this thought, and tell myself, no, it's not
Yeah.
me. I'm not.
Yeah,
I
but you're
mean,
prior to the thoughts. It's the thing is, it's thoughts are going to arise. Like, the thing is, and this is what I was saying earlier, like with source, you have to understand that all of it is accepted. Like, even these unfavorable thoughts that come into your awareness, they're just, all of them are invitations. Do you want to take this thought or this perspective on, this limitation? Let's have fun. Don't take it so seriously, you know?
Yeah.
It's just again, you'll take it seriously when you believe that I'm Tanya and I have this story. It's the thought that comes in that says, I'm Autumn and I have this story. And so now I got to like, you know, restructure my way in. And it's like, no, I am was before Autumn. And I am just having this wonderful experience through Autumn. And if I want to, you know, smoke some weed and kick my feet up, and that's what I'm going to do. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I am like, I mean, it's just, we just think that we're this separate person and we need to become something or need to be something. And we hold these limitations up that we made up and created around this version of ourselves, this human. That's why I say like surrender the human. And I've just got to the point where I've just surrendered the idea that there was ever really a Autumn doing anything. And so it just has made my life so much more, you know.
Okay, so I can even accept the doubt.
Yeah, accept the doubt. But then I laugh because if doubt comes in my awareness, doubt is just stemming from the belief that there's some sort of lack or something, you know, it's just this separation, you know, it's just the belief that there could be some sort of separation or some sort of, you know, but it's the paradox that it can exist, you know, but it's just it's just the holding it and then the judgment, like just let it be. If doubt comes to my mind, I laugh and then I just do what I want to do anyway. So
yeah. Also, because if I have doubt, it means that like you said, it's a possibility that it won't happen, but also it means that the possibility that it happens is still here. Otherwise, doubt wouldn't exist.
Yes, but here's the thing I also want to say to you. It's all this constant meaning making.
Yeah.
Everything you don't have to make meaning up about anything. You know, the thing is, you have to see when you take on a meaning of something, you automatically put yourself into a position of whether it's from wholeness or from separation. And it's this you that you think you are, that you think everything needs to have some sort of meaning. If it comes up, you need to give it a meaning. If things come up and you don't give it meaning, it passes. There's so many things passing through awareness all day, every day, that you don't have to like pause on just this thought form that came up. You can observe it and just let it be. If you didn't put any meaning into it, it would just leave. It would just leave. So you don't have to make meaning about anything. It's this constant making meaning that keeps us small. You know, you don't have to take on a meaning about anything if you don't want to.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Tanya. Hey, thank you everyone who showed up to support Autumn. Autumn, do you mind mentioning your YouTube channel and maybe some of your coaching services? When I post this within the group, I'll make sure I link all that, but I just want to make sure you could get that out there.